Okay, we'll make a start. It's 12 o'clock. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this particular session, which is on supporting the sustainable transition. My name is Tom Cooney. I'm Professor of Entrepreneurship at Technological University Dublin, and I'm chairing the session with my colleagues here, who will introduce in just a moment. I also think, given the heat in the room, it'll be the first time I'll ever chair a session and lose weight at the same time. So you're all very welcome. Basically, the idea behind this session is that I'm a member of the grand jury of the European Enterprise Promotion Awards, and each year we get fantastic applications, really interesting initiatives. And the awards are presented on the Tuesday evening, as will happen tonight. And we felt that these initiatives needed greater exposure to explain what it is that people are doing. Last night we heard in the lecture, the Schumpeter lecture, about bottom-up. Well, these are three great examples of a bottom-up approach to sustainable transition. And the idea behind the session is that we'll talk with our colleagues in terms of what is it that they did around their particular initiative. Where did the idea come from? How did it grow? How did they finance it? And what are their plans for sustainability? And the ambition of this particular session is that people will learn from it and maybe take some of those ideas and maybe bring them back to their home country and replicate it in their own place. So with that, by way of introduction, just to remind you, this masterclass will introduce the 2022 finalists in the category. So, by the way, no fighting, please, okay? No fighting. We'll find out tonight who won the award. No good asking me, I've long forgotten. It's one of the problems with aging, you forget things quickly. Yes, it's supporting sustainable transition, and the category recognises initiatives that support the sustainable transition and environmental aspects such as the circular economy, climate neutrality, clean energy, resource efficiency and biodiversity. We will learn why these projects are successful, the challenges they have faced, and potential replication in other member countries. So with all of that, I'm going to take a seat and introduce Klaus, and ask Klaus to introduce himself.
Yes, thank you, Tom. Being a researcher, investigating best practices very often, it feels great to be a best practice itself. It's a new role for me to represent that. Yes, I'm Klaus Fichter. I'm a professor of innovation management and sustainability from Germany. I teach entrepreneurship and innovation management and sustainability. So I connect this triangle for more than 20 years at the University of Oldenburg in Germany. And what we've been doing actually for more than 10 years, that we connect students, mostly master students, and business partners, and to ask them to work jointly on developing green businesses and sustainable business models, and so to do that jointly over a longer period of time. So this is what we call co-creation. So this collaboration in innovation, and we bring these groups together. That's the focus of what we do. And so I'm not just representing my university, but a large European network. So we are nominated as a project called Scale Up for Sustainability. And the partners are from Sweden, the University of Linköping, and some Swedish companies as well, startups, SMEs. We have partners from the Netherlands. My colleague Franz Stell is also in the room. And we also have Dutch SMEs and startups, and we have German partners. So it's a truly European project. And we have been exchanging our experience with this kind of co-creation, student-business collaborations in the last 4 years, and have developed new formats and how to do that successful, how to measure impact, and to investigate who is benefiting from that. We'll go into that later on. So I'm sitting here for a kind of a European project, and I think a new way of innovation collaboration, actually. So students are not classical economic actors, so they are still doing their studies, and I think that needs to be the focus. They need to learn, they need to develop their skills, their competences, so that's our focus. But at the same time, they work on real-world challenges provided by the companies. And that works really, really well, and it benefits both. That's our experience. We can go into a detail later on.
Can I just ask, the students, are they from any faculty, and are they undergraduate or masters or both?
Both. At our university, mostly they're from the master level, but we have from the Netherlands and Sweden, we also have bachelor level, so we have both. And we have various disciplines, engineering, science, we have management, we have sustainability graduate programs, so we have really a mixture. So that's what we intend to do, an interdisciplinary cooperation, not just have business students and engineering students and sustainability, but we merge them, we bring them together, and that brings a diversity of experiences and perspectives, which is extremely valuable. And I will give you maybe an example later on what it's exactly about.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Klaus. Lena, we'll hand over to you. Who are you, and talk to us about your idea.
Thank you. My name is Lina Tsaltabasi. I come from Greece. I'm the president of the Women in Energy Cooperativa in Greece, and also the president of the Greek Business Women Association. And it's very related because the Greek Business Women Association is the one that initially started this idea about the cooperativa. So it was just 2 years ago. November of 2020, it's a quite new project, but we are here because most likely we have done something good. So I'm glad about that. And it was another lockdown, so a lot of studying on what we needed time to pass. So we were studying, and a study came to my hands saying that only 2% of the energy economy in Greece, less than 2%, is related to women. Only less than 2%. Oh, I said, why are we so back? Why are we falling back? And then I was searching for other data around Europe, and I saw that more or less in all countries is less than 5%. I said, wow, we need to do something in order to empower women into the green transition, into the green economy, into whatever makes the go to sustainability to business. And the same evening, we had an e-coffee with some colleagues from the association. I said, ladies, we need to identify something, a tangible action that will lead us to change the numbers, to change how women feel about green and how women see how men see women in green economy. So we were looking for models. We identified the model of energy cooperativa. Of course, we didn't invent that, but we said, this is our model. So we built the first female entrepreneurial energy community where we actually invited women entrepreneurs from all over Greece and without any background on if they are big companies, small companies, whatever, they just need to go through training. So we started training, we started empowerment seminars, empowerment power camps, boot camps, any camps that you can imagine, in order to showcase to women what this that we are discussing is and how they can be included to that. So we had a very good interaction with the women. So we said, that's it. We are going to build the first Greek female energy community. We didn't know that it was the first in Europe, to be honest, at the beginning. We didn't know that it was the first globally. We thought that it was just the first in Greece. Then we identified what it was. So we went and started launching that. We went to do the public policy advocacy. And we got so many laughters in our faces. You can't imagine. Everybody was laughing in our faces. Women in energy communities, only women, without funding. We said, yeah, So, 2 years afterwards, we are here. We have 4 megawatts already in production. We have 66 members in the energy community. We have trained more than 500 women. We have 200 women waiting to be members. But most importantly, we changed how the society in Greece sees women in the energy sector, which was the biggest step. And of course, we started with photovoltaics because it was so easy for people to understand what this was. But we are already planning to go into more innovative solutions, and we are already discussing about having a green support scheme about startups in green economy in Greece for women.
Wow, fabulous. We'll come back to teasing out some of those details later. Ronald, would you like to introduce yourself and your initiative?
Yeah, I'd love to. My name is Ronald Willinga, and I'm Director of Entrepreneurship for Water Campus, which is located in the Netherlands. We started a little bit longer ago, so it took us longer to come and sit here on this stage. So I'm very impressed by the 2 other initiatives. We started around 15, 20 years ago, focusing on creating water. The demand worldwide for water is increasing with population growth, while at the same time climate change makes it harder. Even in the Netherlands we have dry periods that you cannot imagine that we don't have sufficient water in the Netherlands. So we started to create an innovation ecosystem, and at the moment we are an ecosystem of around 50 professors connected to our to Water Campus, around 200 companies. And yeah, no problem. Stupid phones, eh? And so around 200 companies in our network. And what we do is create new technologies, and we really bring them all the way to the market.
And the network is global, right?
It started in the region of Friesland. I will tell a little bit later why it's especially there. But at the moment we have a global network with companies and universities from all over the world connected to us, yes.
Okay, so what we've done is we've broken the discussion into kind of 4 sections. The first one is to talk through the kind of origin of the idea, and then we'll look through how to gather the resources. Then we'll talk about the critical learning points, and then we'll talk about sustainability. And what I'll do is, after each section, we'll offer the audience the opportunity to ask questions that might relate to that particular section. Can I please remind people to put the phones on mute so as not to disturb the speakers? Thank you. Klaus, where did it all start from? Where did this idea generate from?
Well, actually, I can trace it back to one visit I had to the University of California in Santa Barbara, where I was a visiting professor at the Brand School for Environmental Sciences and Management. And I had the privilege to be there for several months and to work on my research. But of course, I talked to the colleagues and attended also some teaching classes there. And there was one class which I found really interesting. In that class, the students, master students, developed green business models. So ideas they came up with or they picked from somewhere. So they really the whole semester worked on these green business models. And that was a class, and they get credit for it, etc. So I think that's a great idea, not just teaching how you could develop business models or a green business model, but doing it yourself. So that was the approach. And I took that idea with me to my university in Germany, and I thought, we should do something similar, although we taught it before that, but we should add another ingredient too, not just the students working on this green business model, but to connect them with business, with real world challenges. So that's what we did. So we looked for startups, we looked for established SMEs, and asked them, do you have a challenge, some kind of a green idea you want to develop and implement? And we quickly found some regional companies and that invited them to bring their challenge, for example, getting climate neutral, to the class. And then we built student teams, several student teams, mostly 4 or 5 students, working on that challenge for a period of 4 to 5 months. And really jointly developing, working on that, developing solution, analyzing what is the market, for example, what is the environmental impact, so we have different perspectives, and then really make suggestions how the company could implement that idea. So it's still in the idea phase, but we bring it, we push it further. So and what we learned is that the students loved it because it's real-world challenges, talking to business people and learning about what it is like in doing innovation management, business development in the real world. So the students loved it. They loved the idea of being sustainability-oriented. So we didn't have to really fight for that idea, so they loved that too. And what we learned, and that was, I think, I wasn't sure whether also a big benefit for the companies. For the students, yes, but for the companies. But what we learned is these are mostly startups or small companies having very little resources. So they really could bring, by the support of the students, they could accelerate and push the idea. So they bring it to another level to really implement it. So this is kind of an acceleration and validation of an idea. So what we learned is that the companies really benefit from it. So and actually most of these ideas are later really implemented. So it's not just playing, it's really part of an innovation process. And the students are in this ideation phase, business development phase, are one important partner. And of course, you have to kind of moderate that. So we mostly a teaching team. It's not just me. So we have another role. We are not classically teaching and giving lectures. That's we do in other forms. But we arrange the whole setting. So the most work we have is before actually the class or the module starts, selecting the right partners, for example, but that's a very important aspect. And then we coach the teams. So and we give on demand some input, for example, in regard to the tools they need, the analysis. We make sure that the communication really works well with the business partners. Also, the business partners have to learn how to work with the student team. So that's our role. So this is kind of a triangle: students, business partners, and teaching staff.
Yeah, and then that role of coach rather than lecturer is really important. The one quick question: when you went to your manager, the higher management team, and said, "I've got this great idea," what was the reaction? What were you thinking? Go away?
No. I knew that it's probably better if 2 professors suggest that. So I asked a colleague of mine, he's a professor of entrepreneurship, to do that in a team teaching approach. And we jointly suggested to introduce this new module. It's called Sustainable Venturing. And that was pretty quickly accepted. But I think it was quite important that we were the 2.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, we didn't know what is that. I mean, it's not classical teaching. They're working with business partners. What is the role of the student? So, but they said, okay, you do it. And now we won several prizes for that after 2 or 3 years. And after we got the first prizes for that and awards, then they said, oh, this seems to be a nice approach, obviously. And actually, that's my last question, that it constitutes a fully new category of learning, what we call challenge-based learning. So it's not theoretical learning, it's not a classical teaching or research learning, it's challenge-based learning. And that's what I think we need much more.
It's amazing, isn't it, when initiatives get awards, how many people suddenly have approved of it and thought it was a great idea all the time, right? Lena, when with your idea at its origins, people said you were mad, right? People said, so how did you deal with that? How did you overcome those challenges and, you know, that negativity?
Probably people didn't know how a Greek stubborn woman operates. That's the reply. As many no's I was hearing, I wanted to turn them to yes. It was really important for us to showcase that we can do it. It was extremely important. And of course, we were proven right, but this is not the case. For me, the biggest award is that we are here. We are already giving the message out, and we are already assisting women through organizations, through their business organizations or solo women's all over Europe to pass their messages too. So starting from our living rooms, because as I told you, it was the pandemic period, so everybody was solo in their living rooms, discussing through teams, going into passing a message that we can do it, it was extremely important. Generally, the Greek Business Women Association, what it characterizes is that we are not sticking to planning, we are going to actions. When we want to do something and we go to our ministries and say we have to do this or that, and they say, oh, we don't think this is a good idea. If we, as a community, believe it's a good idea, we are starting the pilot and we are proving them wrong. So, as you can imagine, I'm also not the favorite of my government, of any government, long term. So, we found good partners. One of the best partners we could have was the Halkidiki Chamber. Going there, telling them our ideas. We said that we want to establish our parks here in Halkidiki region because we have lack of electricity. We got in very good collaboration with them. So we started building our partnership far and beyond. So it was just at the beginning a madness that you were feeling that you were striking against everybody. We were going against the odds. If there was an award going against the odds, that would be our award. So not going out of the model, totally.
So why did you have so much belief in this initiative? Why did you believe so passionately that this was going to work and drag people with you?
Well, drag, it was, it's a good word. To be honest, I'm very fortunate that other women believed in me, believed in this initiation, so I didn't have to drag women around for that. But it was a model that combined everything. Social innovation, social collaboration, transition to green energy, equal opportunities. It combined everything. Everything was in the table. So I said, let's do it. We have to do it. This will solve our problems. This will showcase that we can do it. So I had this belief because all the pieces of the puzzle were there. Combined.
Excellent, excellent. Ronald, for you, where did it all start? Where did it all kind of talk us through that initial idea and where it stemmed from and how it developed?
Yeah, for that it's good to know that, as I told before, we are in the province of Friesland. Province of Friesland is one of the few provinces in the Netherlands that does not have their own university. And the economy in this province is less robust than in other places of the Netherlands. So the regional government really wanted to give an impulse to economy. And one of the things that they wanted to have more knowledge workers in the province, because everybody that will go for his study will leave the province to go to other places in the Netherlands. And when you study somewhere, the chance is pretty big that you also stay there. So they were thinking about how are we able to bring more knowledge workers to this province, and on which team, on which subject should we do that? And then they did an investigation on companies in the province, and we had a majority of the companies in water technology already in Friesland. So they were front runner in that field, and that's why they chose for water as a subject. And they connected to the companies, and they get really enthusiastic, those companies, because they need people to work for the company, and they also had a hard time finding those those people, and they started this initiative, first with some universities. So it was a cooperation of universities, and maybe the good thing that it's not located at the university is that cooperation is much more easy than when you do it on one university, because then everybody thinks, okay, he's going to steal the show with it. And that's actually where it started, and they couldn't imagine that it grew out to the scale that's right now, with over 2,500 people working in water technology, turnover only in the province of over 500 million euros. But that was not the case 15 years ago. So that's where it started.
And the challenges in getting it started and the barriers that were met originally, what were the kind of the struggles?
Yeah, of course, challenges are in financing the initiative. So where do you find your funding? And already in the beginning, we knew that we had to find not only have governmental funding, but also companies to fund the initiative and universities to fund the initiative. So from the first day, all parties fund 1/3 of the initiative. And in the beginning, it was the regional government, and at the moment, it's also the national and the European government that funds 1/3 of the initiative. The other 1/3 is coming from all the companies connected, and 1/3 is from the universities.
Okay. Okay. See, what I suppose I love about the different examples is their origin comes from such different places. So we've got one, who's an academic in visiting scholar in America, and there's an idea generated. We got an individual who's at home during pandemic who spots an opportunity. We got regional government, and that's the beauty, I suppose, of ideas like this, that there's no one place from which the idea can spawn or develop, but it does take an individual to kind of make it happen, or someone to make it happen. I suppose the next challenge then is, you've got the idea, you want to make it happen. How do you gather the resources around you? So you talked about getting another person involved, you talked about getting the money. So how do you gather the resources, because this isn't going to happen without resources?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely crucial. You need motivated, enthusiastic people to start it, but then you need partners, you need resources. And with this one module we had, that was really tiny, small, but it was clear to me we somehow have to scale it to make it available to more students. And that's when I met Frans Del from the Netherlands, and learned that he's doing similar activities. His approach was a little bit different, but he did this company-rated, sustainability-related challenges and invited students from different universities. So that was a different approach. We had the approach one university with different business partners. Here, the approach was the other way around, one business partners with different universities. So that was really motivating to say, okay, we need to exchange our learnings, our thoughts. And we had the same with one colleague, Olof Hjelm from the Linköping University in Sweden. Yet he, again, had a little different approach. And that's where we say, okay, we need to have some time to really exchange our experience, and then the resources. What do you do as a researcher? You apply for grants, and we applied in the framework of the European Erasmus Plus Knowledge Alliances program, and we were lucky to get the funding for a 3.5-year project, and that allowed us to really develop these kind of challenge-based learning, green collaborative green venturing approaches. And that was really a push. So otherwise, we would not have been able to do it. And we labeled the whole scale up for sustainability, because we were convinced this is a great idea, but it's still in a very small niche, and we made it available for a lot of people. And I think we really pushed the agenda quite a bit. And for those interesting, so it's interesting for business partners, for students, for teaching personnel, we have set up a platform where we display all the challenges which are around there. There are many innovation, sustainability-oriented challenges around. On the platform we have already about 600 different real-world challenges where students can connect. And so we try to connect all the different partners now all over Europe. So we're not satisfied with doing it within our universities, but we really want to scale it. And so that's the next level we want to push it. And we need resources for that. So already now we have a second project, also funded by the European Commission, Erasmus+. So I think that money is well invested. That would be my point of view.
Just one other question. The SMEs that you work with, are they green orientated anyway, or are they any type of SME that just kind of believes that, you know, it's time I got green?
We have both. We have some really green pioneers. So we have startups who really have a clear sustainability mission. So we don't have to convince them about this issue. But we also have more traditional, established SMEs who are just in the transition process of saying, okay, yes, we need to do something about energy transition, about using, for example, renewable resources. One example is a chemical company, a small and medium-sized chemical company from Oldenburg, and they already started 150 years ago. So it's still a family company, and they have quite a tradition, but it's rather classical SME. But their CEO was reaching out, saying, okay, we need to develop, we need to become a green chemistry company, so that and we can help in that transition process. So we have both. But of course, we need some kind of awareness. So we are not looking for partners who are saying, okay, yes, we have to do maybe a little bit, but we are more working on the greenwashing side. So we really want to avoid that.
Okay, very good. The challenge for you in terms of getting resources and people, and I know you had a group of women that supported you, but you obviously needed support beyond that, and then you obviously needed money.
Yeah.
How did you make all that happen?
Well, the biggest support, as you already mentioned, was the biggest resources were the human resources. So when you initiate an idea and you have all this, yes, go, we can do it, we follow you, then your heart really beats and you think that you can manage everything. So the first moment we went into the bank, we heard, of course, another big no at the beginning. So I said, okay, we need to find the money alternatively. So we started with crowdfunding, internal crowdfunding to the members of the association. And I name it as crowdfunding and not just gathering capital, because we had a call for the service is really cheap. It is 500 euros, so that every woman can be included if she wants to. We are not searching for rich women, but we had members of the association assisting other members that couldn't invest even these 500 euros. So this was really social innovation and crowdfunding. So with this way and the other, we gathered the first 500,000 euros. Some bigger members invested a little bit more to support other women to start this going on. And then we went back to the bank and we said, hi, how are you? We have 500,000 euros. Do you want to finance us? They were looking at us like that. And we started negotiating. And I said, you have, money that you should invest in green economy for women. This is what the European Investment Bank said. What is your capital? Where have you invested up to now? So negotiating, we raised another 2.5 from banks with almost zero capital rate. Nobody believes what rate we get. I'm not going to tell it publicly. But it was like a constant negotiation. And as we said, of course, we had the support with the license and everything from the Chamber of Chalkidiki, who welcomed us there. And this was the only strategic partner that really believed in us at the beginning. All the rest were really reluctant, but of course we are changing now the mentality, as we said, and now people want to come close to us. We didn't have any European funding up to now. We have applied, though, now, of course, to get some, but it was a tough beginning because even in the first applications that we were doing, because at the same time we were applying for EU funding, they were the results we got is that we don't really believe that this project can be sustainable. We don't believe that this project can be you can do it. Actually, it was what they more or less told us at the beginning. So we tried with every kind of resources that we could find. I even stole my mother's bank account, but this is another case to discuss. She doesn't know, she doesn't use e-banking. But anyhow, we used everything that you can imagine. Crowdfunding at the beginning, let's say like that, I would call it social funding, and then of course bank loan, because then we were a good client after that.
Remind me, Lena, when I'm next going into contract negotiations to give you a call.
Yeah, please.
Before I go to Ronald, can I just remind people, after Ronald's input, I'm going to invite questions from the audience, so please prepare. I want a rush of questions coming at me. Ronald, you talked about the funding model and the way that it was structured, but resourcing isn't just money. What were the other resources that you built, and what were the challenges in making it happen at that time? Because one of the things I love about your particular initiative is that its reach. Again, you've created a center of excellence, with a reach that's global, and so resourcing that and making that happen has got to have been pretty challenging.
Yeah, it's challenging. Maybe back to the financial resources. We found out that it's quite easy to find money when it's a new initiative, because everybody likes new initiatives. But then finding money for maybe a second or a third round of funding is pretty hard, because politicians, for example, would like to be the ones that cut something and not something that's already there. So that was quite a challenge to keep funding the initiative. And now, so it's like a startup. You go through different valleys of that. And in the beginning, we were in a University of Applied Science. They had a little room less, and we were just sitting there and using their facilities. And then when it grows up, we were taking over the University of Applied Science, and they said, yeah, you have to move out because we need this space for our own students. And then we realized a pretty amazing building with all facilities that you can imagine. And we have a church, actually, an old church that we use for all our companies around us. So all the startups are in church. Which now is a really cool business center. So the first conversation you have with new customers coming in saying, okay, I've been in a lot of office spaces, but it was quite some time ago that I was in church, or never in an office in church. And at the moment, in the beginning, it's hard to find real smart researchers that would like to work for your initiative. But at the moment, when we have a vacancy and we put it online, we get 200 people from all over the world that would like to be a PhD, for example, at our place. So finding that resource of smart people is getting more easy when you're more outside to the open and having your network all over the world.
Yeah. I have often heard of entrepreneurs praying to God, to their God, right, for help, but to be in a church doing it. So was there a group of researchers? Was there a group that got together originally? Like, how many would have been in that kind of core group to start with, that from which it then grew?
Yeah, actually, there's one professor, Kees Buisman, who was connected to Wageningen University. So we have 4 or 5 technical universities in the Netherlands, and he really found his professors from the other universities that are connected. So when a PhD is doing his research at a water campus, he will get a PhD from one of those universities. So we don't give a PhD, the title of a PhD, he gets it from Wageningen, Delft, Eindhoven or another university. But the initiator was Kees Buisman, and he took with him 4 or 5 other professors.
And at what stage did you grow globally? Did you start bringing in the other universities from around the world? And
I think it went hand in hand with the companies connected. So one of the first companies connected was a company called PAC, and they already had a global network with offices worldwide, and they introduced water campus also in other places in the world. So I would say that's more an initiative from the companies than from the universities in the beginning.
Okay. Can I invite questions from the audience, please? We're about halfway. One at a time, don't rush me. Okay, we got one here, please. I know there's a mic somewhere. Here, yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. First, apologize for my voice. So it should reassure you I'm not going to talk too long. My name is Agnès Matisse. I'm working for Cooperatives Europe, and I was very much interested of the different type of partnership that you build up for your project. Within Cooperatives Europe, we had a project on financed by Erasmus+, whose objective was to link the universities, business organization, and youth network that wanted to set up a sustainable project with strong focus of energy, but it could be also a social project. And what was very interesting is the balance between all these partners, because they bring their knowledge, they bring their network, and also their know-how. But I was interested to know how you communicate on your own partners and how you manage to expand it. Because the issue that we had, first, of course, we were financed by a project, Erasmus, and once the finance is done, how is going to be the next step? But second, we noticed that it's very important to communicate on a project. And how do you capture the stakeholders that are on the borderline that could be interested, but are not going really inside the project? Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to go this way for a change.
Okay.
Ronald, I'll start with you.
Did not see that coming, but I thought it's very good for them to ask that question. But we have different models. Actually, Water Campus Ecosystem has 3 main organizations. We have the research, applied research, and more the business-related system. So for research, we have team tables where the companies are on, and the companies pay for the research on that specific team. So we have around 20 different research teams. And within that team, we communicate about the results of the research that we are doing. And the companies are the first that are allowed to pick up a patent, for example, that comes out of the research. So that's very close. So it's not going outside of that table. Then we have more the business-oriented. There you can be a member of us. And it's not so, it's only 1,500 euros per year to be a member of our organization. And then we communicate, for example, today we have a day with all our member organizations communicating about what we are going to do next year. And we take them, for example, to trade fairs or whatsoever to bring the business abroad. And that's very open communication, and everybody can become a member when you're located in the Netherlands, because it's a Dutch network of water technology companies at the moment. Maybe it will change in the future. And we have a lot of communication really key, so we have a lot of very professional communication colleagues continuously working on social media. I know that Jelmer right now is putting things on Twitter about me sitting here, and all those kind of things that you have to do to communicate about your initiative.
Thanks, Ronald. Lena?
Well, for us, of course, the driving force is the Greek Business Women Association, because it has a very big pool of women entrepreneurs, and also it already has a support team. It has employees that supported WinCoop also to go forward, because without the donation, let's say, of the association, it wouldn't be doable. For the members now of the cooperativa, the results are very tangible. So they get part of the energy that they need for their company. So it's really there. They can see that now. At the beginning, we had 66 brave women that followed the idea. As for the stakeholders, when you become a success story, it's so easy for them to follow. The question is, who believed in you in the beginning? Because now we have all this media attention, because it's something different. Maybe we are a little bit of aliens for the Greek standards, so everybody looks at us. But for me, it is important to invest also yourself on really honest and fruitful cooperations. Because when you become the success story, everybody wants to get in the glitter bubble. But who really believed in you in the beginning? Or even if they didn't believe in you, at least they were really supportive. They say, okay, I'm not sure if this is going to happen, but why don't you try it? I'm here for you. So you need also to identify the quality in your collaboration. For me, it's not only getting the partners in, it's also about having partners that they believe in you, and they will support you also when you fail, because it's not going to be a success story forever. We are going to also to fail in some points, but we want honest people believing in us, with us.
Thank you, Lena. Close?
Yeah, so the partnership question was really a crucial factor in our development too. So as I described, the first way of partnering was with my colleague at Professor. So we built a first team. That was really helpful. The second level was we were quite well connected in the region with startups, companies. So that really was an advantage. And we invited them. The companies didn't really know in the beginning what will happen there exactly. But they trusted us that we managed it well. And after they joined it and experienced it, and that's really benefiting, it's improving, it's accelerating their innovation, sustainability ideas. Then, of course, they spread it to colleagues. So that was really important, that other companies, learned, they did it already, that was successful, so we want to join too. So partnering here. And one important aspect here is if we arrange these cooperations between the students and the companies, this is not just playing, it's about real innovation ideas. So what we do, for example, we all involve people, the students, the companies, we sign non-disclosure agreements, because there are information which should not go to the public. That's very important, and that builds trust. That's very important. Trustful relationship, and we take that serious. That was really new to our university president. He had to sign it too. That was new to him. But we take that serious. So you can only build these partnerships when it's trustful and arrange it in a way. Another level was the internationalization, as I described with Frans Stel from the Netherlands and colleagues from Sweden, partnering there because it makes it more visible. I think otherwise would have not qualified for becoming a candidate here for the European Enterprise Promotion Award. And I would like to share one idea I like about our Swedish partners. What they did, in the beginning you had the professors looking for business partners or business partners for some classes. So it depended on the single action of persons. But they soon detect there's quite a potential. We need to institutionalize in a certain way. And what our Swedish partners did, we don't have it yet, and I really love to have it too, that their regional economic development organization, they founded a company, and that company, it's only 3 or 4 people, but the only thing they do, they connect companies from the region with the university to arrange this kind of challenge-based learning, co-venturing. So we see here, I think, a new a new development that these partnerships also have to be professionalized, institutionalized to a certain extent. So it should not only be dependent on single initiators, because at a certain point probably I'm there not anymore. So how does it scale? How does it go about? So I need to be some kind of an institutionalization. And would also like to learn about your water cluster institutionalization, because I think that makes it sustainable in the long run. Some kind of institutions and resources. I think that's a crucial point in the longer development.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think what's interesting there as well, folks, is that while each initiative has a champion, like it doesn't work without a team. Like you got to build a team for it to be successful, and that it's that combination of opportunity, resources, and team. I think that leads to success. Can I take any other questions before I move on to the final section? Any other questions? We'll give one more opportunity in a couple of minutes. So one of the reasons for being here is for people to learn, right? And Ronald, I'm going to start with you again. We'll move this way. What have you learned from the whole process that you'd want to share with people? What mistakes were made that you learned from? What things would you do differently? Any advice? All of the above. Yeah. So what can you share with people that they can take away with them today that says, if I want to run something like this, here's what you should know?
Yeah, first of all, you should work with a Greek lady, because that's sort of what you need to have to continue with your mission, where you're going through. Besides all the no's that you get and all the sometimes negative things you get. Because most of the time you get a no from people that feel that you might be a competitor. So getting a no is actually pretty good, because then normally you're on the right track forward. That is an advice. Second advice I would like to give, and I think I already mentioned, if you want to raise an initiative like ours, don't do it at the premises of a university, but do it on a sort of neutral location if you really want to cooperate between different universities, because then I think it's more easy to do that. Take a team that really works to work on a specific subject. So water technology is, although it's pretty a broad initiative team, so with water technology is almost everywhere, but still it's water technology. So when we develop an accelerator program, it's about water technology. When we try to help people into the markets, it's into water technology. So that helped us a lot to keep focus on the things that we do. And sometimes people want you to do it a little bit more broad. Also, for example, on Delta technology, which is more, we are known about Delta technology as well. But we managed to keep the focus on this specific team.
Okay, which that notion of the kind of hedgehog principle, that you become an expert in one area and you focus on one area and that's it. Anything else? That's it.
In 20 years you experience a lot, of course. And a lot of challenges. Maybe we are, and I'm not sure if that's sort of Frisian style, but we are not always sharing our success. So, and sometimes it's good to do that, to show the world that you're actually doing something different. We have a lot of colleagues that say, yeah, but I'm just doing my work, and that's it. And sometimes you have to really give them an applause on what they're doing and put them in the spotlight. But it's not so normal in the place where we live. But that's something I learned, and maybe that's the reason that I'm on stage and not my colleagues are.
But I think that's important. I think celebrating success is important, and we don't do it enough. We really don't do it enough. Then your words of advice. Ronald was saying there that you can take no as kind of a good. It says you're on the right road. You must have been on the right road quite a lot.
Yeah, well, you need to try and take your risks. And because we have done many projects that we consider really good, but none of them had this impact of this project. You never know where the project that will save part of the society is there. So you keep on working on your ideas, and you need to continue having your risks, and you need to continue believing in what you're doing with your team. But the most important is the team. People that they are around you, believe in what you're doing, interact, and you believe, of course, in them. So today, while we were here, and two of the members of WinCoop are with me, a success came for another project that was being dragged for so many years, and we were trying to make it work for the society. And finally, Christina had a success on that she has been working silently, giving me the space to work on that. So team is where you should invest more, and team that will believe in each other and support each other.
Okay, thank you. Klaus?
Yeah, I would say 3 recommendations. First one, if you start something new, don't expect applause. That's the experience you have as an innovator. I mean, you have to be stubborn. You have to believe in yourself for at least in the beginning. You have to cope with the laughs you get from colleagues, etc. That's you have to deal with. That's the one. Don't expect applause in the beginning. You will get it later, but not in the beginning. The second thing is. I'm still amazed about the creativity and the potential students have. I think we really underestimate the innovation potential we have in our universities with the students. We mostly see them as, okay, they're still learning, they are not professionals yet, maybe semi-professional, but so I make it simple. We don't take it really serious as a player in innovation. And my experiences is totally different. If you give them this challenge and you give them time, some support, it's tremendous what you get in creativity and what they develop. And that's also amazes our business partners, what happens in just 2 or 3 months. So we need to believe more in this potential and involve new groups in the innovation process which have not been actively involved. So far they maybe have been observers, but being an active part of it. I call this the democratization of innovation. We have to involve groups of society which have not been actively involved, and that's one example. And the third recommendation, yes, partnerships. Without partnerships, no chance.
It's been the common theme across all of this today. And with regard to students, again, I would echo what Klaus is saying. Like, young people get criticized quite a lot, and they would completely disagree with it. I think if you give young people the environment, they'll react accordingly. In my own classes, they don't take exams. They're given an assignment where they have to go off and organize a charity event in groups of 3, and they self-select their own charity, they self-select their own event, they go make it happen. And in the 15 years I've been doing it, the students have raised in excess of €850,000.
Wow.
And and loving it, and loving it. Not when they get the assignment initially, okay, but eventually they get there. Can I take a final question, please? Any final questions? Can I just say, by way of introduction here, that you were talking about experiential learning with students. My university interacts with Dublin City Council on consultancy projects, and we have a great relationship. And again, I would say that the students value it greatly. Can I have a microphone? Thanks, Mary.
Thanks very much, and really enjoying the discussion. I think this question is particularly for Klaus. We have a similar project in Dublin, NFUSE, which is also in the finals this evening. But one of the pieces I'd just love to hear your experience on is one of the things we're seeing. We're working with 3 universities, but the universities get to choose which projects they want to work on from our micro enterprises and social enterprises. But what we are seeing anecdotally is that a lot of the businesses are implementing the recommendations, which is fantastic to see because, as you said, you know, the students are semi-professional, but a lot of the advice is really considered, researched, and very implementable. But I'm just wondering, in terms of the impact of your project, are you able to evaluate, you know, what happens after the work is over, and do the businesses get to implement some of the great suggestions the students put forward? Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Yeah, that's a very important question. What is the long-term impact of that? We don't have full data on that yet, to be honest. But we're working on it now in a project, really looking what happens 1 year after. What happened to the idea? Was it implemented? Did it really lead, for example, to the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions as it was intended? These kind of things. So we know some success stories, yes, but I would say, being a researcher, that's not really evidence-based research. So we need to do more, and that has to be organized, really, because it's also a bit of work. 1 year or 2 years later, to see what happened to the idea in the company, what happened also to the people from the company, the staff, the managers involved in the project. So we're working on that. I don't have the answer yet, but with the students, we do 2 things. We do a before and after measurement of how their competencies developed. And we use a sustainable entrepreneurship competence framework in doing so. And there we really can see a big difference. Of course, those students who had already studies in sustainability don't progress that much in that regard, but they progress more in entrepreneurial issues and vice versa. So it very much depends on what they bring to the class. But that we really can see. And one thing we also can clearly say, and this was not intended in the beginning, that a lot of the students actually later move to the startups or the business partners. So nowadays, the business partners see it as a nice way of possible recruiting. That's not the key purpose of it, but we see it happening. So that's one impact. So it influences their career development. Also, and that's especially important for me, thinking, could I also be an entrepreneur? Because if you don't have the family background and that confidence, you could be an entrepreneur because your dad, your mom was an entrepreneur. You're not sure. And by this way of getting to know the business world, you can check, is it something I want to do? And we see a lot of students, not all, who really say, okay, before I wasn't sure, but now I got this flavor and I'm motivated to become an entrepreneur. So that's one of the impacts we see.
Fantastic, fantastic. I'm very conscious that I'm now becoming between you and lunch.
There's a gentleman.
So, look, for me, the 3 takeaways were recognition of opportunity, the gathering of resources, and particularly the building of a team was what came across very strongly today. But also what came across is the fact that, you know, we got ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And we hear this frequently, oh, what can I do? What change can I make? You know, well, we got 3 change makers here, okay? And, you know, it's their passion, their drive, okay, that has enabled that change to happen. And, you know, being told no frequently, but yet continuing to believe in what they were doing. So my challenge to you as we leave the room for lunch is, which one of you or how many of you will I be interviewing up here in 2 or 3 years' time, and about your initiative and what you have done in your home country to make change happen. So join us tonight at 7:30 for the award ceremony, where I will be announcing which one of these 3 panelists will be picking up the award. My Swiss bank account number is. And
can we also pay by cash?
Folks, I hope you've enjoyed the session. There have been 3 tremendous panelists, and let's congratulate them on what they've achieved and on their willingness to share it with you this morning. So thank you very much to our panelists. Go, eat, drink, and be merry.